Good morning. Well, may not be morning when you see this, but it's morning here right now. And so I say good morning. Um, Another thing that keeps coming up, I'm only going to address these things that keep coming up because I think people always are perplexed by my approach to different things, especially the Ashtanga Yoga practice. I'm not sure why they're perplexed because I just follow the basic guidelines of the practice, and maybe most teachers don't. I don't know. I try to. I'm not super strict about some things because my teacher was strict about other things, and so where people think I should be strict, well, you know what, never mind, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to try and worry about what other people think. I'm going to do what I think is important. So I want to talk about Tristhana. Tristhana is the foundation of the practice. Tristhana is the bandhas, the breath, the drishti. But Shrad or Patabi might say asana, drishti, and pranayama are the three foundations. But when I say bandha, I mean the foundation of the asana, which is the center, deep inner core of the body. So I say bandhas. And then when I do a workshop, I usually say breath, bandhas, and drishti because it sounds nicer, but also because in that order, I think the things are that order is the level of importance for the three. Number one is breath. Patabi used to always say, "This is a breathing practice. All the rest is a circus." So number one, when I am teaching you, I want your breath to get good. I'll take a little time with you on the first session, even if I just met you, to teach you how to do this breathing with sound. But not to teach you how to make it a restricted breathing with sound, but how to make it an open breathing with sound. So that it is free breathing with sound. Those phrases have all been bandied about a bit in the practice. Ujjayi breathing also. Ujjayi breathing is technically something you can only do when you're sitting, doing a pranayama practice, not when you're moving. And it does get a restriction in the throat, where free breathing with sound gets an opening with the throat, so that it sounds like the wind blowing into a cave next to the sea, where you hear it and it sounds way back there. It's bouncing off the back of the throat, and it's a different quality. When you're restricting it, that's another different quality. It forces more through a smaller space. So even if your nose is plugged up and you're doing it, Ujjayi breathing, you can force the air through. So that's the foundation, and I will make sure you're breathing properly in every movement, in everything, because that is number one, as far as the foundation goes for this practice. I don't care if you're stiff. I don't care whatever you're able to do or not able to do. If you're not breathing properly, it's really, really hard. And one thing you'll notice too, if you're ever in a class that I'm teaching, if I've told someone repeatedly and repeatedly, I just kind of end up saying, fuck it, and I don't worry about it. I let them go, and if they're having trouble, I always bring them back, but you don't breathe properly, so that's why this is there. You don't breathe properly. If you do the breathing properly, you get warm, you get flexible from the inside out, you get more focus also. It's a whole, there's a thing that you can't say enough about the breath. Because breathing is moving prana. Prana is when the Shakti that has created the universe comes into this vessel we call our body, that it becomes prana, and then it's under the control of pranayama. So if we're controlling the breathing, that is what we're supposed to be doing. Not controlling as far as restricting so much, but having a deep, strong awareness of it at all points in time, especially during our practice. Okay, that's number one. Bandhas, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, And Jalandhara Bandha. Jalandhara Bandha is the least that we usually talk about because it only comes into play a couple times in the practice. Because but it is done differently than what a lot of people think. People think it's just supposed to be like this where it cuts everything off. It should be lengthening of the neck. It should be opening up of the muscles on the sides of the neck. And then the lock comes in here when the chest lifts and the chin comes to meet itself. So it is pretty deep, but it keeps the channel open, the Sushumna, Ida, Pingala, that equate with the physical body. It keeps that open back here. So that is part of that bandha. Mula bandha is a little bit more elusive. Nancy was really big on teaching Uddiyana bandha, which is something that I do also because it changed my whole practice. And when I leave it and forget about it and really try to do other things, then my back starts to hurt and I have problems, which happened to me when I arrived here in Frankfurt. I was starting to have back problems and I'm like, what? And after Nancy passed away, it's like some piece of her that was asleep inside me got awakened when she passed away. And I remembered, oh, she used to pick on this. Okay, I'm going to do this. So when I started doing that, it really, if you do Uddiyana Bandha right, and I'm not going to give you a deep verbal instruction of how to do it here right now, because I don't think that's the way it needs to be learned. It needs to be learned. Nancy would use her hand to really engage into the belly and not engage to where it's hard. Everyone makes their belly hard. Your belly should not be hard because if it's hard, energy isn't going to flow. It needs to be like a sucking up action, but also it's a sucking back and down action. It's engagement. And then as the Mula Bandha becomes a part of it, which they end up becoming one together. They aren't separated things once you get them both properly. Then the energy starts to move up and out where it needs to go. But it really opens up the mid-thoracic spine where so many people are tight, and where the thoracic and lumbar spine meet. It really opens up that area and it supports it. But the biggest thing is that the lumbar spine, which is, a lordotic curve, is the weakest part of the spine next to our neck. This is also a lordotic curve. The two lordotic curves, lordosis, can happen in is the neck and the lumbar spine. This one's the weakest, but once you get that, taken care of, with yoga practice can help that. The other part is the weakest. And so many people have pain there because they're just allowing that curve to get deeper and deeper and letting their belly hang. But if you pull the belly into it, and I'm not saying like a hard pull, so don't take these things as instructions. Then the lumbar spine doesn't straighten, but it gets more strong, and the tailbone hooks down, and the thoracic spine reaches up, and where your lungs, then the kidneys and adrenal glands meet, that area gets a lot of space. And when you're breathing and you're pushing the breath into that spot all the way up the spine, all the way into the back of the body, the rib cage, the muscles in the back, everything gets more space and everything gets more energy, gets more prana. And once that starts to happen, then your spine relaxes and you get more space in your spine, and then your nervous system gets more relaxed. Your nervous system starts to communicate between the brain and the body parts better. You start to feel even better. Your back opens up. The thing that we really got to focus on is these are all things that are being done in our practice, but they're not like this where it shouldn't be. I am doing bandhas. I am doing the asanas, doing them. You shouldn't be doing anything. You should be fucking relaxing with an awareness on these ideas, these concepts. And where needed, you do a little more. Where needed, you do a little less. Most people are doing the practice. You don't need to do the practice. You just need to practice. Go through it. Follow your breath. If you're having trouble breathing, don't worry about anything but breathing. If you're not having trouble breathing, breath is good and you got it flowing everywhere. Then you start to draw some awareness into the navel and the lower rib cage, keeping it in line. Then you start to draw some awareness into the pelvic floor and the space between the navel and the pubic bone, and drawing them in and up, but not where they get hard, just where they get like a buoyancy to them. Those are the physical actions that take place to make the bandhas happen. But really, it's not a physical response you're going to have if the energy starts to move. You will have a physical response. I shouldn't say you won't have one at all. You will have one, because the amount of work you're going to do is going to affect you physically. It's going to realign your spine. It's going to do things for your nervous system. It's going to make your hips more relaxed. It's going to make your back open up. Primary series, if you think about, you're doing all of this forward bending. Well, you're doing it to open up your back, but you're doing it to engage the belly back, to learn the bandhas. If you're going forward like this and you're putting it all in your hamstrings, this practice is not about your legs. The standing poses may be about your legs. It's about the moving the energy. But if we can't learn to relax while we're doing the whole practice, and I don't mean like let your muscles be mush, but only the muscles that are working need to be engaged. And it's not that they need to be engaged because you're forcing engagement into them. It is that I'm pushing down, so these muscles engage to lift me up. I'm lifting up from my pelvic floor, so those muscles engage because I'm lifting up from there. But everything around it needs to be as soft as possible, because you don't want to over-engage. We need less tension in our body, not more tension. Less tension, not more tension. So when you're doing something and you find yourself doing it to where your shoulders, your traps, especially your neck muscles, everything's engaged so much that the breath is restricted, that the prana movement is restricted, that's where you have to sit your ass down, take a deep breath, and feel the physical relaxation in them. Eric Schiffman used to be an Iyengar teacher, but he kind of has his own style because he incorporates all about the energy. And his YouTube channel has recently, he's been posting a lot of meditations. And I shouldn't even call them meditations, because they are just about sitting, being, feeling, and expanding your awareness, like letting the crown of your head relax all the way around your head. He does it slowly. He's really great at talking you through it in a way that makes, seems a little psychotic, but also once you do it, you understand that when the energy is flowing everywhere, to other people you might seem psychotic because you're relaxed, you're peaceful, and most people aren't feeling these things. Why wouldn't we want to be more relaxed and more peaceful? There's nothing wrong with that. So when you go to practice in the morning, I will be practicing at home. I'm not teaching in the morning because tomorrow I'm taking a train to France. For the next 9 days I'll be there. And then I come back here to Frankfurt. When you get up and practice, the next time you get up and practice, whether it's in the morning or not, think about how little you can do physically. And think about the breath first, the bandhas second, and the drishti. Gaze at your nose, gaze at your third eye, gaze at your navel. Know the drishtis so that then you can forget about what to do in between. Because if you're looking out and looking around, you're taking your energy, that you're expanding the energy in your body, in your heart, in your organs, in your back, in your shoulders, in everything, and you're just wasting it. You're just looking all around. Keep drawing yourself back inward, turning toward your nose, turning toward your navel, turning toward your third eye, whatever it takes to keep your focus back in here. But learn the drishtis. It's very good. I didn't talk about them very much, but I don't have to. They do the work themselves when you actually do them. So try to do them. But try to focus on these three things, not on physical alignment. If you have issues and you need a certain amount of alignment, that's one thing. If your body's pretty okay and you don't have to worry about it so much, focus on breath, bandhas, drishti, and nothing else. And notice that when you focus on these things and you stay internalized, you're all of a sudden finished with your practice in a less amount of time, because time kind of stops. You don't really have to take an hour and a half to 2 hours to 3 hours to do these practices. These people who take that long are over focusing on the physical side, or over focusing on I have this problem, I have that problem. Well, what if you just didn't, you just had focused on these three things? Those problems kind of fall away. And I'm not making this a diagnosis. I'm just saying when you focus on something, it gets worse. When you focus on something else, that thing kind of goes away. It's not in the forefront of your mind anymore. So practice in the morning and relax while you're practicing. Breathe while you're practicing. Think about your bandhas a little bit while you're practicing. If you can come practice with me or a teacher who really focuses on the bandhas, go practice with them every once in a while and get a little input on it. And then add in the drishti and see how it goes. Okay? Have a great day.